Hi everyone, welcome to the Creative Cove. Michelle here. Thanks for joining me today. I thought we would have some fun with creating these sheets of pressed flowers and watercolor combination. So this was an experiment. I was just playing with some of my pressed flowers, some glue, and I thought I'd add some watercolor to it, some gold paint. I don't know if you can see the reflection there. So it's kind of a spin-off to the other collection I was doing with these little thumbnails with the watercolor. So now I'm adding glue and pressed flowers, in this case ferns, and I thought the results were really fun, so I think I'm going to give it a try. And so bear with me, it's either going to work or not work. But we're going to have some fun trying it, and that's the whole point, right? Just to have some fun and experiment. So what I've done here is I have added some masking tape, well, painter's tape, to my watercolor pad. And this watercolor paper is, pull it out for you here, is the one I've used before. It is the Artist Loft watercolor pad, acid-free, 140 pound. So it's a relatively affordable watercolor paper. And it's just from Michael's, is where I get my watercolor paper from, unless I'm going really high end. Then I'll go to an artsy fartsy store and grab some high end watercolor paper. But for the most part, I like to use the cheaper watercolor papers because a lot of the stuff I'm doing is experimental. So you don't want to spend a lot of money on using papers that are expensive if you're just experimenting and playing. So I've got some PVC glue, and I just added my wet watercolor brush to it, and I'm throwing some glue down. And then I'm going to grab some specimens here and see if they fit within the frame that I've decided to make them. This guy's just a little bit too big, so I'm just going to chop the stem a little bit, hopefully. I'm gonna make sure they fit in these little thumbnails. And I do try to use tweezers. If you're rough like me, you're gonna wanna use tweezers. And you want it to sit, so you wanna make sure there is glue underneath, and then a nice, relatively watered down, generous amount of glue over top. Now, you can add water to this because this is watercolor paper, so it will absorb the glue and paper at the same time, which is what you need without going all yucky. Just gonna get that hair out of there. Trying to want to move with the direction of the plant. We're just gonna let that sit. So my water is a bit dirty from playing, so if you see little tins of green come up, it's just because there's a little bit of green paint in my water, which I don't mind. I just wanted to play with this today. So again, just repeating the process. Water down my glue, and I like to water down the glue just simply because it's more delicate on the plant. This guy looks a little jumbled. I don't know if we can stretch these out a little bit, or if he's just dried that way. I find like all the fern pieces are kind of hiding behind themselves. See if I can manipulate them out a bit. It doesn't look like I can. That's all right. We tried. All right, just another thin coat of glue, and I'm just putting the thin coat of glue on because I want to make sure that they will be protected when they're in the journal. I've used varnish in the past. I prefer the varnish technique. I do have a video on how to varnish pressed flowers onto paper, but I packed my varnish, so I don't have it handy. So I'm using what I've got here. Here's another fern. So maybe put 2 on this one. Sometimes I really like the simplicity of it, and I like to just let the specimen speak for itself. I don't want to go too busy on the flowers because we are going to add some background interest with the paint. So I want to keep the specimen relatively simplified and Maybe straighter though. Straight would be nice for this one. Pull it a little straighter, there we go. Again, another coat. It's thin, watered down glue. Okay, and another coat over here, glue. Not the best thing to use on your expensive watercolor brushes, but again, it's all I brought with me. Here's a pretty blue plant. Let's do this one. Now these pressed flowers that I have that I'm using are from Amazon. We're just coming into growing season now here in Ontario, so I should have my own collection of pressed flowers again. I've already done some daffodils that are pressing right now, but I ran out of my own work, my own little collection, so I had to buy some off Amazon. And I find them quite expensive. They are kind of a treat, but when you need them, you need them. I can't go very long without pressed flowers. All right, so do this side. Let's see. I don't know if you can see the big stash of pressed flowers over here, but I have a huge stash of them that I want to use up. Let's see what this guy fit there. It's a bit awkward. He's a bit thick too, so his stem is thick. I don't think I'm going to use him. You want pretty thin ones for this project if you're not laminating, because the paper will remain flexible. You want the plant to stay flexible, so if it's thick, these stems will come up and grab and break. So you do want to work with something relatively thin, and when you press flowers, make sure they are fully dry, completely dehydrated before you use them, because they will go moldy even under glue. Even under laminate where air can't even get to them, somehow they still get moldy. All right, I do have videos too on how to press flowers and how to store them. I'll do a video on how I make my little fold up pressed flower book. That it's small and portable, so I can take it with me, and it's a great little pressed flower tool. I think I have one here with my daffodils in it, but I don't know where I put it in this suitcase of mine, because I'm always going for a walk and finding little bits of grass or something that I wanted to try and see if I like the way they press. Some things press much nicer than others, and that's the fun of it. You get to really experiment. See, this guy's lifting off, so I want to make sure he does stay down, because that's a thick stem. Get rid of it. Hopefully that will stay down. Okay, we'll do one up here. So these are nice little things you can add to your botanical journals. You can send to a friend, and you can make a big collection of them. So they're always fun to make. This one's a little bit weird. I'm sorry, in the hotel here, the light is to my right. So if I'm casting a shadow with my hand, I apologize. But I don't have my setup right now. Let's see if I can get this kind of light flat. There we go. He's pretty. Maybe add something else to him, just for something different. This pretty little flower here. Where's my tweezers? I have them in my hand, but I'm not even using them. I think this is pretty on its own, so let me just use this one down here. This is a nice little specimen with a flatten that out a bit. Okay. Yeah, I like that. That's pretty. Put some glue over top of that, protect it. Again, I do like the varnish technique better, but you gotta use what you got. Let's see, maybe pink on this one. Ooh. They are delicate, that's for sure. And maybe another little, just play with it there. See what we get. Again, I don't want to make it too busy because I am going to add some watercolor, but why not add a little bit of color to this one? Whoops. See, you got to be careful, and I am so rough with this stuff. There we go. All right, just add a little bit here. I'm gonna let that dry and rinse my brush. Get the glue out. Then while they're drying, I'm gonna throw in some colors. So I always go to my burnt sienna. I'm just gonna add some color wherever. No wrong or right here, just throw it in. This one keeps raising up, so I think I'm gonna cut it right off here. Just because I know that's not gonna stick. So even if your glue is wet, it's okay, because it's watercolor paper. So it'll absorb differently. And this is a PVC glue, so it'll absorb the color. If you're using something like a, say an acetone base, it will probably repel the paint, so you get a completely different look. So again, just experimental. Play with different paints, different glues, and see what you get. Always fun to discover. Okay, I'm gonna go to my other ink, my other watercolor pad here, my Winsor Newton, because there's a green in here I really like. I'm sorry, I don't know what it's called. The legend is gone. But again, you're just picking colors that you do like. Something, you know, if you're drawn to the pinks, use the pinks. I don't want to fill up all of the background. I do want to leave some of the white paint, the white paper exposed. I'm not a big fan of this one. I just find it's really boring. Let me take that off and add another one. And just scoop up some more glue. Throw some more glue down. Let's find another specimen here that I might like. Something like him. He's a bit thick, so no. Find something thinner. What's this guy? There we go. He should work. And some more glue over top. Try not to rip it apart. Like me. Yeah, patience is a virtue, that's for sure. Okay, I'm gonna leave that guy for a minute, rinse my brush, because I don't want glue in my paint if I can avoid it. Throw that on there. Just randomly adding some color here. Just letting the brush do the work. I'm just seeing how these dry and the fun effects you can get. I'm gonna add some gold paint to these too, because I'm right into gold paint right now. Really loving the effect that gold paint has on these watercolors. Throw in a little bit more color. And then we'll find our gold. So here's my little gold. I've used this before. This is from the Pixies Playground Etsy store, and I just love this gold. And I'm just gonna throw some in. I love to put it on the top of the plant too. Nice and loose, just have fun, don't stress, let the paint do its thing. You never know where it's going to take you, which is my favorite part. Just throwing some gold on you. I know it's really hard to see that it's gold paint where you are, camera wise, because the reflection is not there, but I will show you in a sec. Hopefully we can pick it up, because it really shimmers really beautifully. Okay, so now I'm going to, oh, I missed this one. Let's throw some gold on there. I'm going to just fleck some gold paint by banging my brush with my finger here. So these ones are a lot more brown than I wanted. So I might see if I can absorb some of that brown back up, because I prefer the green, but I forgot to bring out some paper towel. So what have I got here that's absorbent? Well, I have one of these little things that go on the inks. See if it's not too dry, if I can absorb some up. Sorry about my camera. It's attached to the hotel desk, and it's a little bit wobbly. Just another experiment by absorbing the paint back up, see what we get. And then I'm gonna speckle with some green now. It's really pretty green. So I want some textures in there. We can always draw on it after if we're not happy. We can always add more and add acrylic paint, gesso. Like, the possibilities to these little thumbnails are endless. All right, I'm gonna let that dry for a minute. Okay, and we'll talk about these ones. So the next step after that, and it does need to be pretty dry, is I like to put this print across the top of them. But we do need it dry for that, otherwise they bleed too much. So I'm just gonna hopefully make it, that's the problem with demonstrating watercolor, is the dry time that you need. I don't have one of those fancy things that I can fast forward and like editing software. Something I really need to invest in, but I don't even know what to get. Let's try and take some of it off. All right, let's give it a go. Otherwise this video will be hours long, and I don't like long videos myself. So here's the stamp that I use, and if you follow me on this channel, you'll know I use this all the time. And I just got it off Amazon. It's a legible writing, and I pulled it off the wood backing so that I can manipulate it more, because I don't want to do a full square, well, full rectangle. I just want to use a part of the stamp. So this is that Cocoa exclusive inks close to my heart pad that I have. I use it all the time, and hopefully this isn't too wet so it doesn't run too much. And I'm just gonna throw a little bit on so you can see how it bleeds if it's wet. And I try not to use it too much. I don't mind a little bit of the bleeding, but it can get very muddy very quickly if you do that too much. And I don't want that. Just gonna throw some more on here. You use whatever stamp you've got. It's nice and light. We went right over the flower on that one. That's kind of cool. I like that. Maybe go back with a little bit more, just a touch. I don't want to go into the ink, but I think I'd like to maybe saturate the edges so that when we pull the tape off, it has a nice little thumbnail definition here. And that will make sense in a minute. You could do this with the distressed inks, you know, the distressed oxide inks. That would be really cool too. Might do that next, actually. I haven't tried that yet on watercolor paper. Give it a go. I just want to hit the edges of this watercolor paper, just where the tape meets, so that when we pull it off, we have a really nice crisp border, hopefully, if it didn't bleed. So I'm just gonna pop the edges just a little with a soft color here. I really like this one. The gold is really picked up on it. And maybe, you can never have enough gold, so maybe we'll do some more flecks of gold too. Why not? Why not? It shows up so pretty. You can really see it here. I just love it. Need more water. This guy's come off. So he's not fully glued down. He might not work. And then you can have fun too by adding gold, more opaque watercolor to the actual top of the plant, and I'll pull that in closer in a minute so you can see it. So you can still see the fine color and texture of the plant, but you're embellishing it with gold, which is fun. Tones down the plant a little bit too. So for example, this has gone much more orangey brown than I wanted, but that's okay. I'm just going to tone down the green, see if it blends it in a little bit more. And of course you would let these dry a little more than in between stages, but I just want to make sure that the video is not too long. All right, let's give that a try. I think I like that. Maybe one more dramatic dark brown splatter. Just want to make sure that we have some interesting contrast. So I'm just going to use dark brown here. Sorry, burnt umber, I'm guessing. We'll throw a little bit of that in. And then we'll peel the tape off. And of course you would wait for the tape to dry. But here at the Creative Cove, we have no patience. All right, so trying to remember what I put down first. So it was this one. Try and pull the tape off in the order that you put it on. Makes life a lot easier. And of course, when these are dry, and if you're still having issues like this one, and I'll show you in a second, you can always go over with more glue. But do wait till it dries, because the glue will move the paint and change what you've done. And if you're happy with how they look, then you don't want to, you want to wait. Geez, this really stuck, eh? It's pulling off my paint. There we go. Then you do want to make sure you wait until it's dried. Yeah, pulled off the tape here, but that's okay. You just cut it cleaner. Like I said, you would wait for this to dry, so that probably wouldn't happen if it was dry. But I just want to show you the results. I love doing these little thumbnails, and now I get another way to use up my pressed flowers with some watercolor paint. How much fun. How much fun. Okay, and this one, last one. I'll try and put it so that you can see the gold paint here. Get this out the way. So I'd probably hit a few of these again with some more glue, but I don't know if you can see this. I'm hoping you can really see that reflection of gold. I don't know if you can because the light is way over here, but there they are, little thumbnails. I think they're really sweet. Let's look at these little blue flowers here. So layers and layers of interest. And again, you can wait till it dries and hit it with more stamps if you want, more gold paint. You can take a pen when it's dry and go in and draw little things. I can't right now because it's soaking wet, but you can have a lot of fun. And this one was done the same way, only with no tape. So I just kind of visually orientated the splatters and stuff and stamps to go around, which also is a really neat effect. So I hope you like that idea. If you do, hit the subscribe button. Come back and visit me again and hit the like button, notification button, and we'll see you again. And I should have possibly some of this uploaded to my Etsy store for digital downloads if you're interested. The link will be at the bottom, but I hope you also give it a try yourself and have fun with it. Take care, everyone. Bye.